Namaste and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a saying, even the wise have told us in our scriptures, choose your words carefully. Going on to even say, in the Natya Shastra it is said, that if the truth hurts somebody, don't even say it, refrain from saying it. Say things which are okay, which are good. Say things which are parliamentary. But well, the lexicon for parliament changes. There is a debate on that too. What can be said and what shouldn't be said. But as far as parliamentary procedures are concerned, words that are expunged should not be used or refrain from using them. Now there is a huge furor over that because there is a new list that has been issued, and in that list it is said, mind your language, but you're supposed to mind your language. Not just in parliament, you're supposed to mind your language even against parliamentarians, ladies and gentlemen. That's the reality. But what kind of words? And then the opposition has gone ahead and going after and gunning at the government, saying you are trying to clip us, you are trying to sanitize anything that would be said, and you are trying to ensure that nothing can be said against Prime Minister Narendra Modi. In fact, the allegation made by the opposition is all the adjectives and all the euphemisms and all the words that we are using against the Prime Minister, you have expunged them and you have put them in the list that cannot be used. That's the kind of allegation that's been made. But let's go back a little in history. Quickly, I just want to tell you, there is a phrase which says, qui degreditur a materia ad personam. This was a rule that was agreed way back in 1604 in the British House of Commons. And what does it mean? It says, whoever dissents from talking about the subject to talking about persons. So, 1604 में decide कर लिया व्यक्ति पर मत बोल, विषय पर बोल. But here the opposition is gunning only because their focus is on one व्यक्ति. Listen into what the reactions have been from both sides, the treasury benches and the opposition.
We have also seen during the days of emergency when newspapers were printing, you had some words which were not allowed. Now we have a model where you cannot even use words like corrupt, incompetent, and drama, hypocrisy. They've all become unparliamentary. Probably we'll, in the henceforth, every opposition leader would have to give their speeches to wet the speeches by the government of the day and allow them to use some of the words. This is absolutely ridiculous and this has to be withdrawn immediately.
लोकसभा की एक प्रक्रिया है, जो प्रक्रिया 1959 से चल रही है.
अनपार्लियामेंट्री नहीं थे, जो नहीं थे हम करेंगे. करने के बाद उनका रिएक्शन क्या होगा हम देखेंगे.
कंटेक्स्ट इंपॉर्टेंट है. ये लफ्ज की बहस में मत जाइए. रूल्स को, प्रोसीजर को फॉलो करने की जरूरत है.
India will cease to be a democracy if we are not allowed to speak in the parliament in any opposition. It's not a question of today or tomorrow.
These proposals are not only applicable to opposition parties but also the ruling party. If I want to criticize someone, we don't require the filthy words to criticize.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, here are some of the aspects. Let's clear the air. There is a lot of misinformation which happens. There is the misinformation factory which is there, which takes the argument somewhere altogether. So let's just bring it back. First up, what's the fundamental principle? Stick to the subject and don't attack the person. Now, here is some of the other aspects. There has been no word that's been banned. These are a list of words that have been expunged in the past sessions of the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, state assemblies, that's the Vidhan Sabha, and also in parliaments of Commonwealth nations. But I'll come to that. So, list of unparliamentary words is actually released every year. It's not कि अभी हो रहा है. The other aspect, list of words already expunged, like I said, in the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, state assemblies, and also this includes words which are expunged in parliaments of Commonwealth nations, because we derive much of our parliamentary procedures and behavior and conduct from the British House of Commons. Expunging of words or expressions in British Parliament has been existent since 1604, like I told you. Expunging of words or expression in Indian Parliament has been on since 1954. Action cannot be initiated against any MP in any court for unparliamentary expression, and the Speaker also came out and said that I will look at the context. in which you have used the word and why, and then decide whether they should be expunged. These words will all be marked in red, and thereafter, then the speaker decides. Now, let's look at what kind of words have been expunged in the past. In governments which are not NDA or BJP or Modi Sarkar. Have a look at this. Words like incompetent, this was first expunged in November 17, 1966. A word like incompetent was expunged then. In 1966, they also expunged a word like corrupt. First expunged in November 17, 1966. Dishonest. Dishonest was first expunged on 17th of August 2011. Dishonesty. Dishonesty was also expunged on the 3rd of March 2011. Then shame. Shame was first expunged on the 21st of March 2012. And of course, after that, cheating. Another word that was expunged on the 20th of March 2012. Loot was expunged on the 13th of March 2012. Jhoot, lie, this was also expunged on April 27, 2012. Who was in power at that time? A lot of these people are sitting in the opposition, were occupying the treasury branches. A lot of the people, perhaps some of them who are there on the treasury benches, were sitting in opposition. Ladies and gentlemen, this is parliamentary parlance. Is this opposition Scrabble? Has it backfired altogether? That's the question that we are asking. Unparliamentary words are the hashtag. It's a straight face-off between the Congress and the BJP here, or a Congress voice and the BJP. We have Sujata Paul, leader of the Congress party, and RP Singh, Sardar RP Singh, spokesperson of the BJP. Namaste. What is all this, Sujata Paul? Why create so much of hangama over what is a year-on-year procedure? People are asking, कोई issue नहीं है क्या? हर चीज पर क्यों इतना हंगामा कर रहे हैं लोग?
हर चीज पर कोई issue नहीं है. The world is moving from a world which used to be tied down, and you did not have freedom of expression. Now in India, where we profess to have freedom of speech, where we want to move from freedom of speech to complete freedom of speech, we have a government which comes down heavily on us. And the very words that they used in their last session, like corrupt, are supposed to be unparliamentary now. Now, when you talk about Jumla Ji, we also have another word, Paraji. So the Prime Minister can use any word that he likes, and everybody from the BJP will follow those. But when there are words like dishonest, and we must consider the context, of course, because the list of words which you were giving, Anandji, were, as per context. So they must have been expunged because the context in which it was spoken was people did not accept it, and they were opposed. But when you are talking about these words today, I want to understand how is India moving towards freedom of speech. When you say Tanashah, that is a word which is being used all the time by all the opposition leaders, netas, karyakartas, and the public in general for Mr. Modi ji's Sarkar. But if you want us to stop using these words, how are you going to even talk about issues if you cannot use words like a corrupt government?
So are you trying to say that when the opposition is in power, they can stop those in opposition from using whatever words they want? When those in power are now in opposition, then those in power should not stop the opposition from using whatever words they want. So heads I win, tails you lose. Chit mein jeeta, pad tumhare. So in 2011, 2012, dishonest, loot should be expunged. It's right. It's the right thing to do. But in 2022, words like dishonest, loot and all should not be expunged because that's not the right thing to do.
I use the word dishonest for this very reason, Mr. Narasimhan, that no words should be expunged unless the context in which
correct, but that's exactly, isn't that exactly what the speaker also said? That it is the speaker's discretion, and the speaker will decide based on the context and the debate. But the point is that these words have not been included. These words were all expunged in the last sessions, ma'am. And there are words which were expunged in state legislatures. How do you know that some of these words were not used against the ruling disposition, that is the Congress, and it is the Congress in that state had these words expunged? Well, okay, let me just bring in Sardar RP Singh. जी बोलिए. Okay, you please complete. Then I'll bring in Sardar Api Singh. Please complete.
Yes, what I'm saying is, even if it was used at that time and it was opposed, if the context was not right, do we follow an example which is wrong? No two wrongs can make a right. It's as simple as that. And today we live in a world where we must allow people to speak, and especially considering the kind of
Was the
we are
world any
faced.
different in 2011? Was the world any different in 1990s, or was the world any different in 1950, where freedom of speech was not a fundamental right with reasonable restrictions? Whichever world you are, every abhivyakti ki azadi is something which is a standard norm. You can't say that when you are in power you will decide whether you have abhivyakti ki azadi, but when you are in opposition you will decide that it must be abhivyakti. This heads I win tails you lose. There has to, and that too with those people who have been in parliament and in power for more. They are coming out and making these accusations. सरदार आरपी से ओके लेट्स ब्रिंग इन सरदार आरपी. आरोप आप पे ये है कि यू आर ट्राइंग टू मजल द ऑपोजिशन, यू आर ट्राइंग टू इंश्योर एंड टेल द ऑपोजिशन ये वर्ड्स यूज किए तो एक्सपंज हो जाएंगे, अगर ये वर्ड्स यूज किए तो एक्सपंज हो जाएंगे. दैट्स व्हाट दे आर सेइंग. तो फिर हम क्या वर्ड्स यूज करें? दे आर आस्किंग सरदार आरपी सिंह.
Anand, I have 3 booklets with me of the unparliamentary expressions. The phrase used is unparliamentary expressions. This is 2010, this is 2011, and this is 2021. 3. Okay. And word in 2010 uses which has been expunged is dalal, dalali, loot. 2010. Which was released under UPA regime. 2011 loot has been expunged again. This is merely expunging the word. It's not banning. You can again go and speak the same word. Who is stopping you from that? And also, ma'am, understand the parliamentary procedure. The parliamentary procedure is before finalizing the speech of the person who has spoken the word, the speech is sent to the concerned member parliament. And if he doesn't find it appropriate, he can again rewrite whatever he has to rewrite. The text is sent to the concerned person, and after that the words are expunged, and this is nothing new. But yes, as you said, Twitter khelna hai, Rahul Baba ko kuch to karna hai. He has to do something. He doesn't have any other game to play. No, he can't. Ma'am, I didn't interrupt. Please hold on. Sujata, hold on. Sujata, he doesn't have right to tear the ordinance passed by the parliament now. He can't tear the ordinance passed by the parliament. So he can only do Twitter. Please keep playing Twitter every day. The fact is, you are barking on a wrong tree.
अरे उनको छीन रही है. कहीं आरपी सिंह जी, कहीं अनपार्लियामेंट्री वर्ड प्रवक्ताओं के लिए तो नहीं थे जो आपने पार्लियामेंटेरियंस के लिए इस्तेमाल कर दिए. ये भी सोचने का विषय है.
अरे वो आपके लिए है मैम, वो आपके लिए, राहुल बाबा के लिए जो गले मिलकर आंख मारते हैं, वो राहुल बाबा के लिए जो गले मिलकर जाकर आंख मारते हैं, वो अनपार्लियामेंट्री एक्सप्रेशन है. There's an unparliamentary expression which he did, which is not as per the parliamentary norm. कैसे बोल सकते हैं वो जो राहुल बाबा ने किया था? तो let's understand the problem with you guys is कि पंजाबी में कहावत है, आनंद सुनिएगा, पंजाबी में कहावत है, उसको कहते हैं आटा गुंदी हिल्दी क्यों है? That's the problem with these guys. They have to pinpoint every issue. They have to pin pricks in each and every issue, whether it is right or wrong, and look like fools, look like clowns. I can't help it. Sujata, I can't help it with your crown prince. Who can help your crown prince? If your crown prince is bent upon making mock of himself, he is bent upon, or people mocking on him, on subjects which are not relevant. Pick up relevant subjects.
One minute.
Busy on a foreign trip.
I request both RP Singh and Sujata Paul, please don't speak over each other, because Sujata Paul, your audio is getting distorted. So if you speak over each other, one audio will get distorted, and then I will be blamed कि कांग्रेस स्पीकर या कांग्रेस लीनिंग वॉइस का ऑपोजिशन की वॉइस को आपने डिस्टॉर्ट किया. मेरी गलती नहीं है. मैं प्लीज आपसे अनुरोध कर रहा हूँ. फिर मुझे फिर ट्रोल किया जाएगा, मुझे कहा जाएगा ये आनंद नरसिम्हन ने जानबूझ के अपने शो में सुजाता पॉल के वॉइस को ये कर दिया, डिस्टॉर्ट कर दिया. मैं नहीं कर रहा हूँ. इट्स अ टेक्निकल इशू मैम, प्लीज डोंट स्पीक ओवर ईच अदर. So, RP Singh, please complete in the next 10 seconds, and then Sujata Paul, please respond.
Allow me to. No, can I get 30 seconds because she disturbed?
Please go ahead. Take 30 seconds, but then please yield. Let Sujata Paul respond after that. Yeah.
Sir, No. Yes. No. She should respond. She has all the right to respond. I mean, I'm not here for lynch. I'm not part of the lynching brigade. So issue is, I mean, there are words which parliamentarians speak in the parliament, and those are expunged in a very routine fashion. It's a very routine procedure. It's nothing new. As I showed you that I have copies of 2010 and 11 with me. There's a 2021 also with me, which is another the fresh booklet on what are expressions which are expunged. And it's not only Parliament, it's from various states also. Various other states also, which are Congress ruled states also. So, if words have been expunged in Congress ruled states, they have been just been mentioned. They can reiterate the word, and every word has a context. It's not that you are speaking a word, that's why it's been expunged. It's expunged because of some context or some conjecture.
Correct.
Next time you can use
So,
the same
all right.
word, but it might not be expunged.
Right. So the fact is, it might have been expunged in the context in which it was used.
Another 5 seconds. 5
Ji,
seconds.
ji.
The problem is Rahul Gandhi doesn't know English, basic English. He is probably, his mother tongue is Italian, so he doesn't know basic
No,
English.
I'll tell you what. Please keep these jibes. Please keep these jibes. We don't need to get into these jibes. We don't need to. Just like the repeatedly the opposition does not relent from trying to unnecessarily drag in Prime Minister Narendra Modi and you use personal jibes against him. We don't need to do this against Mr. Rahul Gandhi. Mr. Rahul Gandhi has raised an objection. All right, let's argue on the objection and let's put out the facts. Let's put out the
Get them expunged.
Yeah, sir, I would like to on this debate expunge that comment that you made respectfully. Now, my point is, my point is that just because it is expunged doesn't mean it is banned. Doesn't mean you can't use it again. It's about the context in which you're going to speak. Parliamentary parlance and parliamentary language is something which everybody has to adhere to, and you can go ahead and adjust. Again, go ahead. नहीं, पिछली बार expunge किया, आपकी बार try मारते हैं. अभी expunge होता है कि नहीं? So they can try again.
You know, the thing is that with the BJP government in power, every day they come up with something which will be argued upon. You know, now everybody is giving an explanation that it can be expunged, but it's not necessary that it will be expunged, and so on and so forth.
No. It's not necessarily. What they are saying is it doesn't mean it is banned. Let's try and understand this, Sujata ji. Let's not try and twist the words. I'm saying, I can tell you, listen, Ms. Sujata Paul, you have said something like this, we are expunging it this time. But tomorrow in the next session or next time, you can again stand up and say, Mr. Narasimhan, again. And then I'll say again, Ms. Sujata Paul, again, context is wrong, I'll expunge it. It's not banned, but it will be expunged. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Mr. Narasimhan, what is the point of, expunging it? I don't understand that if you're using a word like, let's say, sexual harassment. Sexual harassment is a term which has been... Let's say that.
So why?
Harassment that you're discussing the context
it's
of
the
women.
context. It's
Yes,
the context.
So it will be expunged, right? It is not banned. You can keep using it, but every time it will be expunged. So tell me, how do you explain this expunging when you are using
But
the
who
word
expunges it?
Not at all.
Who
Not
expunges
at all.
it? Who expunges it?
Not at all.
The expunging is done by the chair. It's done by the speaker or the chair, and it is also done by the speaker in the state assemblies. This is the same rule which applies to every parliament across all Commonwealth nations and across all legislative assemblies. You and me don't decide कि इसको expunge करना है नहीं करना है, and MP doesn't decide that.
No, do we have to follow everybody, and everybody has crocodile tears and criminal being expunged? Why are we expunging these words at this stage? That means that the government knows that their Ghadiyali...
Ma'am, they are not expunging these words now. Again, you are twisting the... Please don't twist facts for to suit your narrative. I have only one request. Please don't twist. These words were already expunged in the past sessions. This list is कि भाई पिछले साल और पिछले सेशन में क्या-क्या, एक साल में क्या-क्या हो चुका है, वो लिस्ट निकली है. ये अभी नहीं, अगले सेशन में क्या नहीं बोल सकते, ये नहीं लिखा है. पिछले सेशन में क्या एक्सपंज हुआ, वो बता रहे हैं मैम. How can you...
अरे भाई, कि ये अनपार्लियामेंट्री आ गया. अगर कुछ एक्सपंज हुआ है, उसको हम दोबारा से रिपीट करेंगे और आप उसको दोबारा एक्सपंज करेंगे.
वो तो कॉन्टेक्स्ट के बेसिस पे है. कॉन्टेक्स्ट के बेसिस पे है. Context के basis पे, and it is at the speaker's decision. Not necessary that the word loot, the word abused, the word so many other words. The word corrupt has not been used in Parliament and after 2011. It has been used and it has not been expunged. There would be instances, and there will be instances when it has been expunged, because based on the context and the discretion of the speaker, you know that every parliamentarian understands that. Anybody who follows parliament understands that. RP Singh, please respond.
It will be used again, right?
Of course, it will be
Very
used.
simple.
There is no
Sujata,
ban
please.
on it. Yes, RP Singh.
Sujata ji, you can use the same word again in a different context. It might not be expunged. दोहरा चरित्र हो सकता है, आप बोल सकते हैं एक बार एक्सपंज होगा, अगली बार नहीं होगा एक्सपंज. वो कांग्रेस का दोहरा चरित्र किसी ने बोल दिया तो वो एक कॉन्टेक्स्ट में हो सकता है, परंतु क्या पाकिस्तान का दोहरा चरित्र एक्सपंज होगा? नहीं होगा. बड़ा ऑब्वियस है. तो प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड द पार्लियामेंट्री प्रोसीजर एंड आई रिक्वेस्ट यू, tell your Rahul Gandhi, stop doing this playing game, tutor game. It doesn't work for him now. It's not helping him. It's not helping the opposition. We want good, strong opposition with relevant issues. With some relevant issues. Some issues which are relevant to us as a nation.
He has the right to question you, Mr. RP Singh. Stop attacking Mr. Rahul Gandhi. I know you will not be sent for the next debate if you don't take his name at least 10 times. But right now we are talking about the words that are being expunged. So the words which are being expunged, you're saying they can be used in the right context according to you. What is the right context and what is the wrong context? The words which have to be used have to be used.
Are you questioning the wisdom of the chair? Are you saying the chair does not have the wisdom to decide in what context and why a word should be expunged or a phrase should be expunged? Then you are flirting with parliamentary privilege, ma'am. Please be careful. अभी आपने वही कहा कि कौन डिसाइड करे. I am repeatedly telling you, please use the words. The chair will decide. It's just that they have published a list of in the previous sessions which are the words that have been expunged, not just in the Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, but also across all assemblies across India. It's a norm which is being practiced from the 50s. Why make a big deal out of this is the question that basically everybody is asking. कि आपके पास कोई और मुद्दा नहीं है कि हर चीज पर आप बवाल खड़ा कर रहे हैं और वो भी राय का पहाड़ बना रहे हैं. मत करिए is what many people are saying. But सरदार आरपी सिंह,
पहाड़ आप क्यों बना रहे हैं?
नहीं तो राय है, उसका पहाड़ तो आप ही बना रहे हैं.
अरे आई वॉश कर दीजिए.
नहीं आई वॉश नहीं है, वो रियलिटी है. पॉइंट इज कि एक शेर का दांत कितना बड़ा है. फिर दूसरा अगला इशू आपने उठाया कि भाई ये लिस्ट अभी क्यों निकाली है. यू आर पिकिंग आउट इश्यूज वेयर पीपल आर लुकिंग एट एंड सेइंग भाई क्या कर रहे हो आप लोग. व्हाट इज इट दैट यू गणेश पूजा क्यों की. एवरीबॉडी these are questions that are being asked and then they are saying what is the opposition doing. And then, in trying to question this, there is more abuse and more disrespect that is being put out. And that too by senior parliamentarians. Senior parliamentarians are going out and personally attacking an individual just because they have decided, यही हमारी strategy है, इसको जब जाए गाली दो.
अब जिसने कहा है आप उनसे पूछिए.
देखिए वो भी बहुत वरिष्ठ हैं, आप ही की पार्टी से बिलोंग करते हैं और मैं खुद चौंक गया था जब उन्होंने ये बात कही थी. बट एनीवे,
ये लिस्ट निकालने की क्या जरूरत पड़ी?
अरे हर साल की ये पार्लियामेंटरी प्रोसीजर है मैम, निकालने की क्या जरूरत पड़ी, क्या पूछ रहे हैं आप. तो फिर ये 1959 से चल रहा है.
क्या आप इन वर्ड्स को यूज कर सकते हैं? ये जरूरी नहीं कि एक्सपांड.
सुजाता जी, either you are unwilling to concede the argument and you are arguing for argument's sake, or you know that you have lost the argument, but you still want to continue to push on. Either way, RP Singh, final word. I have to wind up. Moving on. RP Singh, final word. I have to wind up. Moving. Yeah.
2010 में एक वर्ड एक्सपंज किया, भैंस के आगे बीच में जाना. अभी 2021 में नहीं होगा. ये तो डिपेंड करता है. 2022 में नहीं होगा. ये भैंस के आगे बीच में जाना.
ये तो मुहावरा है सर.
बीन के आगे भैंस बजाइए आप तो.
नहीं
ये एक्सप्रेशन है. ये ना
देखिए नहीं.
सुजाता पॉल फाइंड आउट फॉल्ट्स वेयर देयर आर.
देखिए बीन के आगे बीन, कौन भैंस के आगे बीन बजा रहा है और कौन बीन के आगे भैंस बजा रहा है, सबको दिख रहा है. मेरा बस यही कहना है कि डेसिबल लेवल सही रखिए और सुर में बजाइए. इतना ही मैं कहूंगा. I thank you all. Thank you both. Sujata Paul and Sardar RP Singh have to wind up debate number 1. Ladies and gentlemen, moving on to debate number 2. As much as there was a bit of sarcasm, there was a little of banter there as far as debate number 1. Debate number 2 is a serious issue. Debate number 2 is an expose that stands out from the state of Bihar, where members affiliated to a banned organization, members affiliated to an organization that's been termed extremist and violent by courts of our country, have been caught with a document that talks about creating or turning India into an Islamic state. The Ghazwa-e-Hind agenda stands exposed, and they want to time it around the time Bharat turns 100 years. That's 2047.
तारीख को हम लोगों ने एक घर को सर्च किया जिसके बारे में सूचना थी। हम लोगों ने उसको वेरीफाई किया और वहां पर जो चीजें मिली, इंडिया विजन 2047, दैट इज वेरी ऑब्जेक्शनेबल।
Investigation will be pursued vigorously and intensely. The documents have been recovered, the flags have been recovered, and the flags clearly point out the PFI.
जैसे शाखा होती है फिजिकल एजुकेशन के नाम से, लोग अपने यूथ्स को बुला के और उनको प्रशिक्षण दे रहे थे, और उसी के साथ ही जो अपना एजेंडा है और प्रोपेगेंडा है उनके माध्यम से यूथ्स को ब्रेन वॉश करने का काम कर रहे थे।
Well, one of the recoveries that the cops made when they made this bust and tried to, based on intelligence inputs, just 2 or 3 days ahead of the Prime Minister's visit to Bihar in Patna. This is in the Fulwari area, right in the heart of Patna, ladies and gentlemen, that this arrest has happened and this bust has happened. They got a document which CNN News 18 is in possession of. This document, this is supposed to, it says at the bottom, it says internal document not for circulation, but look what it says: India 2047 towards rule of Islam in India. And this is a PFI agenda is what they are stating. Now, one of the aspects, they have listed out multiple stages. I'll come to that in just a bit. Have a look at this part. This is what it is saying. Popular Front of India is confident that even if 10% of total Muslim population rally behind it, PFI would subjugate the coward majority community to their knees and bring back the glory of Islam in India. They have also said that PFI cadre and Muslim youth should be repeatedly told that they are all working for Deen, Allah, and Allah created the world, Kainat, and Muslims were made for 2 reasons. The first, to establish the law of Allah, and secondly, Muslims are Dai on earth. This should always be kept in mind, that the rule of Islam has to be established. This is what they have written here in this document, and this was being actively propagated, preached, and drilled into a lot of members who were coming to attend these meetings. They were hiding their identities. This also goes on to say stages of progression towards Islamic rule. See this. It says stages of progression towards Islamic rule. Let's try and understand this in detail. What kind of stages are these people talking about? So understand the stages of progression. 2047 terror blueprint. This is the PFI handbook. Stage 1. Establish the presence in Muslim areas and unite Muslims. Repeatedly remind Indian Muslims of grievances. Focus on expanding and recruiting new members. And establish Islamic identity beyond the concept of Indian. Train recruits in use of swords, rods, and weapons. This is the first stage. Let's come to stage 2. Stage 2 says mass mobilization under the leadership of the PFI. Use violence selectively to demonstrate strength. Limit exposure of trained cadre to security forces. Use concepts of constitution, Ambedkar, tricolor, national flag to hide Islamic agenda. Establish liaison with foreign Islamic nations for funding. Stage 3, form close alliances with SC, ST, OBC groups. Focus on gathering 10% Muslims and 50% of the SC, ST, OBCs. Create a vote bank of Muslims and SC, ST, OBCs for elections. Create a divide between the RSS and the SC, ST, OBC groups. Discredit secular parties among Muslims and SC, ST, OBCs. Then, stage 4, gain political power at national level. Fill positions in the executive and judiciary with loyalists. Appoint loyalists to top posts in the army and police. Declare new constitution based on Islamic principles. Start systematic elimination of opponents. So even they are saying Muslim outfits, eradicate all of them. PFI should become the only dominant Muslim force, but more importantly, this is the agenda. And even as we set up the debate, ladies and gentlemen, it's a straightforward question that comes out. Ghazwa-e-Hind plot for 2047. This outfit, which finds its roots and origins with the banned outfit Simi, has plans of converting India into an Islamic state. That's what this document says. The PFI so far, I must put this out there, has come out and said that this is all hogwash, a figment of somebody's imagination who wants to defame the PFI. But the agenda is so beautifully delineated that this cannot be somebody's creative writing exercise, and it cannot be done in a matter of minutes or hours, ladies and gentlemen. And what also rings true and stands to me is that a similar intent was divulged in court by a former Chief Minister of Kerala with respect to the state of Kerala. V.S. Achyutanandan said this sometime in 2009, 2010, if my memory serves me right, you can look at it. But how is it that the parallels remain the same? Let's go across to our guests. Sardar R.P. Singh of the BJP, Abhishek Banerjee, Atikur Rahman and Vikram Singh, former DGP of Uttar Pradesh. Namaste, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Vikram Singh ji, ये तो बहुत सोची समझी साजिश है. Now what if is this document somebody's figment of imagination? Or are you worried that this could be circulated across 23 states in various offices of PFI and would be in possession of various members of PFI?
Anandji, good evening, and good evening, respected esteemed panelists. This is delirious, this is absolutely nonsensical, but that it is a figment of somebody's imagination would be quoting the recipe of disaster. It is with tremendous application of mind and research that this paper has come out with due study, diligence, and certainly a well-structured roadmap. It is a different matter that it is an absurd proposition and somebody's pipe's dream, which is never going to come true. But the application of mind and the sinister planning, and what you mentioned, that what Mr. Achyutanandan also mentioned in the year 2009, I remember very clearly, this echoes the same sentiment. Use the tricolor, use the constitution, use Dr. Ambedkar's photographs, try to galvanize the strength of the weaker sections, especially the scheduled caste, the tribe, and also the minorities, and then bring them under the single umbrella and convert India into an Islamic state 2047. What to talk of 2047? These ideas shall be buried to the dust, and they will grovel for mercy in the next 6 months if a resolute nation gives a befitting reply. Now, this of course is a cause of concern. But to Sardar R.P. Singh ji, I would say we've been talking about PFI, farmers' agitation, PFI, CA agitations, PFI, Delhi riots, PFI, Bangalore riots, PFI, 120 crores, PFI. Are we so helpless?
Hijab issue, PFI, cargo, PFI, even here, butchering issues, PFI.
Then why can't we for once at least give the documentation and ban them and identify every single person? Old wine in a new bottle, Cardas migrate to Indian Mujahideen to PFI. That doesn't hold water. Today we are the living of IT, and facial recognition technologies and DNA sampling will tell you who is where. Whether Ansar has become Vikram Singh or Vikram Singh or Ansar, you can know it. The technology gives you the power. What worked in 2007 when we banned Simi does not work any longer. Please bring out the work, and if you know what is good for the country, Sardar R.P. Singh Sahab, The nation expects that you will ban PFI in the next 30 days. If not, well, we'll be very disappointed.
Point is they banned Simi also. Now here Sardar RP Singh, look at this. They are saying that two of the people who have been arrested, one of them is a retired cop. The other one, Parvez, Athar Parvez's brother Athar Parvez is from Simi, and his brother was involved in the Patna blast. He is his brother, involved in the Patna blast. And sir, we got information that old members of the Simi were travelling from several states including Kerala, West Bengal, Uttar Pradesh and Tamil Nadu to carry activities there. They came there. So how are you going to deal with this?
Anand, is more serious than what you hear. Please, I'm answering that. I was just going through another part of the report which you have, the copy which you have. It's more serious than that. It's not only that they are gearing up by building up their own political outfit like SCPI or other outfits, but they are also seeping into the present set of outfits also. The page number 16 of the 250-page report, which states that they have to they have to seep into the present setup, and they have did so with Aam Aadmi Party. There's a story on this, there's a news item on this which are going through. There's Imran Khan, their minister here, they have reached him, they have spoken to him, they have told him what is happening, what's not happening, and how about the grievances which you said, remind the people of grievances against Muslims and Islam, and then try to encash on that and try to work on that. So it is a story which is with me. I'll send a copy of this to you, which categorically says that they have done this with Aam Aadmi Party here in Delhi, and then that's how Aam Aadmi Party also supported CA, and then they were organizing all what was happening in CA during CA, that holding Ambedkar's placard or holding the national flag under the cover of all that, doing what they wanted to do, doing what Shajjal Mohammed said, that let's cut off Assam for few hours and then job is done.
So if all of this is happening, what are we doing to counter it, sir?
That's what Shajjal Mohammed said.
The simple point is, the simple question is, how are we going to counter this? Because they are doing it brazenly. They are using the system to subvert the system. They know they have perfected the language to use. They have perfected the foil and the cover to use. They have perfected the arguments, and they have already planted Trojans everywhere.
And it's not okay. Now can I add few more things and then I'll answer your question also. It's not only that they are looking with those political parties and setting up the political on parties, but also seeping into. But other than that, they are looking into how to infiltrate in the administrative services, in civil services, in judiciary, and people with a particular mindset. That's the biggest threat. So yes, now the question comes: how do you deal with them? Dealing with them is that we need to isolate them from the main society. I mean, main society means, when I say isolate them from because I still feel that Muslims at large are not like that, or people who follow Islam are not like that. There are certain set of people who are trying to do this and radicalize the bigger community or the bigger chunk in the system. We have to work on them, and then, as Prime Minister has been doing it, that ensuring that all what is desired for communities, immaterial of appeasement. I mean, they are not immaterial of what caste or party or whatever creed he belongs to. Still, the benefit has to, of the government has to go to each one of them. But side by side, ensuring that all such elements are taken care. Banning PFI is one. Ensuring that the intelligence works strongly and intelligence work.
No, you banned Simi, sir. You banned Simi, but their members are still active. Their members are still active. They are flying below the radar. Like the intelligence here is saying that there are a lot of the members are former Simi. Athar Parvez is Simi. Athar Parvez is not. He is now PFI. A lot of the original members of Simi are founding members of the PFI. It is documented. It is there for everybody to see. It's a registered organization. And today we had the SSP, Sardar RP Singh, the SSP liken the PFI's activities to the RSS.
Well, that shows that what sort of knowledge he has about the RSS or what sort of knowledge he has about the overall context, overall subject as such. Because I have been member of RSS and 45 and a half years I have never been taught a word against a Muslim. Not ever a word has been spoken against. I'm saying on record. Never ever a word has been spoken in Islam or Muslim at all. It is just the nationalism which has been spoken in RSS Shakha or being discussed how to ensure that we make people more nationalist. That's all. And I appreciate people whoever want to, even that SSP should go and see Shakha and it's all in open. It's not in a room or it's not in a compartment. It's all in open.
And it is not
held all in open.
No, and here these people who are hiding their identities, Abhishek Banerjee. These people were hiding their identities. These people were using false names and they were sitting inside somebody's house. The PFI says we are not pushing any of this, but they were doing it under the aegis of the PFI. They were using PFI, the name of the organization. They were actively doing it, and here this entire agenda is a PFI-driven agenda. That's what what this document is also saying. You and me cannot sit and draft this document, sir. This has got to be somebody who's ideally radicalized, highly devious, and somebody who's tried to figure out how to work this system to try and gather more ground. And a lot of what is being listed in this document is manifest around us. You, me, everybody can see it. They are targeting Muslim entities, Muslim parties. They are going against the Muslim parties, local Muslim parties, trying to cannibalize them. They are working against communities. They are trying to create narratives. And in every facade, they are somewhere or the other, they are involved. Abhishek.
Yeah, Anand, so I'll quickly make some basic observations. The first thing I would say that this document shows is how much closer the threat is than most people realize. You know, if you meet most people in the country, most common people think that, such activities are limited to, let's say, some specific parts of the country. I mean, first of all, it happening anywhere in the country is a problem, but still people have a tendency to think that, they're restricted to some pockets. But this is happening in the heart of Patna. So it is, the threat is not just in some isolated pocket. It is all over the country. It is in the mainstream. It is in the big cities. It's in the small villages. It's everywhere. The second thing that I would say is that what I felt about when I was reading some of the highlights of the document is how clear-headed it is. So they have how to influence people, how to increase their presence, how to make alliances with groups that can be drawn into their circuit. They have a very clear picture of that. So what is happening right now in the country is that one side has a very, very clear idea of what their agenda is, what they want, and how to go about achieving it. But on the other side, what we have is basically woolly-headedness and very low level of awareness. And the third thing that I would say is that the most important thing which I felt about this document was the agenda of radical pan-Islamism on a global level.
Yeah.
If you see, they repeatedly talk about Turkey. And, these things are very, very dangerous. The history goes back almost 100 years to the end of World War I, right after the Armenian genocide when the Khilafat movement happened in India in support of the Ottoman Empire. So this agenda of global with the support of Turkey, this is very, very dangerous. And they clearly have a big vision. They have a big diabolical vision of what they want our country to be. They, so Hinduism is an indigenous-based tradition. It's thousands of years old. And then there is the desire on parts of, of Abrahamic groups to sort of wipe out these indigenous cultures. It's happened on every continent. It's happened in Africa. It's happened in North America, in South America, in Australia. They want to complete the job in India. So we have to be very aware of where the lines are and what the dangers are.
And what's more shocking is that this has multiple threads, and somewhere they all seem to be connected, Atikur Rahman. Look at Gohar Chisti's arrest. Gohar Chisti's uncle is a member of the PFI, Sarwar Chisti. Gohar Chisti and Sarwar Chisti both have connections with Pakistan. They have both received funds. They are both involved in this entire butchering episode or beheading episode. And somewhere the agenda seems to be the same. What is going to be done? And their intent, this document very clearly says that moderate Muslims and other Muslim outfits need to be wiped out too. We've got to cannibalize everybody and we should be the only one. And our agenda is this. There has to be some way to fix this. Banning an organization doesn't seem to be working because Simi Carter are still active. Atikur Rahman.
Well, Anand, this is serious. At the same time, I would say it's not impossible to sabotage their thinking, their mindful, sabotaging the constitution and the ethos of India. What I feel, Anand, is if such document is in the domain of the public now, the security agencies are very much free that they are not a cross-border organization. They are right in India sitting. Their office bearers time and again come in the newspapers and on other social media. The simplest thing what I think is the government, the Home Ministry of the states or the center should call the members of the PFI and the SDPI and talk to them why exactly, what exactly, how they exactly intend to pan-India Islamize the entire length and breadth of the Indian people. And I, in my position, would ask them why exactly they want to Islamize India in the presence of the Indian Constitution, because I feel there is no need. India, the Indian Muslims are very much in a very, very comfortable position as far as the Indian Constitution and the secular ethos of India are in place. So nobody, no Indian I feel, should have any objection to Islamize India when we are in a comfortable position. And if the office bearers deny that no, we do not believe in the Indian Constitution, we do not believe in the secular ethos of the, then they should be behind bars and hanged to death.
But here is the case, Atikur Rahman. These people are turning around saying this is not ours. See, this is what they have, plausible deniability. How do I go ahead and catch an office bearer? Because then the same courts will turn around and say, where is the proof? It's all around us, but we can't prove it. It's like a player has a handkerchief hanging outside the hand. You have the evidence to show that there is something aji-baji going on the field, but you can't prove it in a court of law. Here, this is exactly what's happening. The fix has to come from within society, Atikur Rahman, and that's where the concern is. The concern is that these outfits are actually getting, they are actually getting a bigger.
24/7, Anand.
See, they are getting
I will
purchased.
assure you, at least in Mumbai, the Muslims are working 24/7 to demolish all.
Sir,
these
my point is that
radical
it should not be only Muslims.
And
It
we
has
have
to be the entire
succeeded.
society has to work together. And here is why. And it cannot be limited only to Mumbai.
We need your contribution.
No, what I am trying to say, Atikur Rahmanji, is see, look at what they're doing. They had a plot to do it across 6 districts in Rajasthan. 40 people had been trained. And somewhere, some of these people are connected with outfits like Dawat-e-Islami and PFI. They are talking to radicals outside the country. But this, my point is, sir, these individuals, even if they are 40 or 300, they don't represent the entire Muslim population in our country. They don't represent India at all. It is not, because they are not even 0.00003%. But what I am saying is 300 people or 3,000 people can wreak havoc across this country. And they can not just defame one particular community, they can defame the entire country. They can bleed the entire country. And when they bleed and when they go out to kill, it's not one person who will die or one community which will suffer. Humanity will suffer, Indians will suffer. So this is a serious problem that we have. Even in this, it smacks of a certain level of politics when it comes to utterances made by certain officials and certain people. That's the problem we have in society, that there is always somebody to give cover fire, Vikram Singh ji. There is somebody who is wanting to deliberately try to counterbalance.
Absolutely, Anandji. For one Mr. Atikur Rahman, there are 1,000 others who will oppose Mr. Atikur Rahman and all of us. Mr. Atikur Rahman agreed is a one-person army. Very laudable, and my salutations to him. India needs more Atikur Rahman Sahabs. But yes, the danger and the fault lines are very, very obvious, and better that a stitch in time saves 9. It is better that we wake up to the alarming situation. And yes, indeed, as you very rightly said, these 40 to 300 people can create such a havoc and such a misery for the nation, bring a bad name which we certainly do not deserve. As it is, they have brought such a shame to us, which was best avoided. Now is the time to see that what went wrong in Rajasthan, let us not replicate the same story in other parts of the country. And what... Yes, Anandji, but my last sentence is that we should not nip this in the bud. We need to crush it in the bud. Whatever has happened in Patna, the sleeper cells, the ex-Simi cadres, they need to be dealt with a firm hand on a war footing.
Now, here is the problem, Abhishek Banerjee, final word, that they have already seeped into various parts of the system. That's what the parts that you highlighted. The existing system itself, they have seeped into the system. They are present, and they are brazenly standing there and saying, touch, see what can you do to me.
Yeah, so Anand, I think what we need right now is that across political parties in this country, we need a total consensus on two issues, on national security and on the identity of India as a civilization state, the kind of consensus that they have in Israel. We can disagree with each other. We are a raucous democracy. Let us quarrel as much as possible. But on the issues of national security and on India's identity as a civilization state, there should be no disagreement. This is what we need. And on a slightly lighter note, I would add that one of the saving graces that I found in the document is that first I said that, this Turkey thing angle is very dangerous. But on the other hand, I should also point out that Turkey is basically a failed state. So if they are putting a lot of their eggs in the Turkey basket right now, so they are really not making a very smart choice, which is kind of good for us.
No, and they are still saying that 10% of Muslim support we need. That's their thought process. And they say, and then they believe that they can take over the country with 10% of Muslim support, and 50% of the SC, ST, and OBCs. That's their calculus and that's their thing. Well, Mungeri Lal ke हसीन सपने हो सकते हैं, लेकिन ये सपने देखना भी गलत है. That's what we have to try and say. That's what we have to try and send the message. I thank you all, to all our panelists. Sardar RP Singh, final 30 seconds and way over time, sir. 10 seconds I'll give you, sir.
Well, 10 seconds only. Probably they are thinking of virus of 1939 coming back. I mean, when they thought of Pakistan started, it was a very small group of people. But we need more like Kitikuruman and many more like.
No, sir. We need to root out those who are trying to embed themselves. Intelligence inputs are there. Action has to happen, and action has to be comprehensive surgery. That needs to happen internally. An internal surgical strike is the need of the hour. I have to wind up on that note. I thank you all. Thank you to our panelists. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, His Holiness the Dalai Lama has made a very clear distinction between the Chinese people and the PLA. How and why, we tell you. Stay with us.